Um, so Adam, tell me about yourself. Who is A-Team Adam?
Um, well, I kind of grew up in the heating and air conditioning business.
Mm.
It's been in my family for a long time. So my grandpa started doing it. My dad started in the 70s. So, I mean, I have pictures of myself standing next to my dad's train truck when he worked for Train,
Oh wow.
wearing a Train shirt when I was probably 5 years old. So I've lived it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, I started helping my dad in probably going on jobs and that when I was around in third grade or so, just handing him tools when he started his own company.
Yeah.
And then when I got out of high school, I worked for him full time, started to learn, go to classes, this and that. And then 2012, he sold the company.
Okay.
And at that point, I just started my own company, and now he works for me again. So come full circle.
How does that make him feel?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, I think it's good that he stays busy right now,
Mm.
but I kind of feel bad in a way. But I think he'd be bored sitting at home. So
Oh man, one of those guys. Yeah. Once he's run out of building a back deck and fixing his boat, he's got nothing else to do. Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And how long have you been with? So 2012 is when you started your company. So it's been 9 years now. Then yeah.
yeah.
And you've been with HVAC 2.0 fairly recently, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I downloaded or I subscribed, whatever you would call it. I subscribed to the free account back probably, I don't know, 6 or so months ago. And then I kind of got intimidated by it and I pushed it to the side, forgot about it. But I joined the Facebook group. So I've just been listening to everyone and just kind of eavesdropping in conversations and that. And then Nate came into one of the HVAC overtime shows. We brought him in, and just talking to him, it really, got the wheels turning in my head and made me more and more interested. And I had the opportunity to go meet with Nate at a friend of mine's house, Bill Russell. He did a covered consult on his house.
Yeah.
So I drove 5 hours to go check it out, and it was worth it. Everyone thought I was crazy because it was snowing. It was in the middle of winter, but I'm like, hey, I don't think I'll have an opportunity like this very often.
I remember, I think I noticed you saying on Facebook that you're willing to drive 4 hours to go help out someone's kid who was in Minnesota or like a Madison, Wisconsin or something, right? Because you're
Oh, Bill Spone's
Bill Phone's
his
daughter.
daughter in
Yeah.
Wisconsin. Yeah,
And so where are you based?
I'm just west of Chicago. I'm in one of the Chicago suburbs.
Gotcha, right on. So for someone like you, Adam, who's a third generation HVAC installer, and I don't know, there are many people like that I have spoken to certainly, and someone who has his own HVAC show, who's been in the HVAC business for since you said, you're handing stuff to your dad since third grade. What about HVAC 2.0 really appealed to you?
Just like the data, you know
Mm.
what I mean? Like, that was one of the things that learning, because I learned a lot from my dad, but he owned the company, so he put me out with other guys, right? And some of the other guys that I learned from, they had a lot of rules of thumb that they would teach me, and I kind of listened to them, but it like didn't really make much sense,
Yeah.
like following their rules of thumb. And the more classes I went to and the more I would read, and then YouTube popped up, started watching like Steve Raridan and all these other guys, and I'm like, my mind was just like, you know well, like just opened up, and I learned more and more, and I was just like a sponge trying to soak everything up. And same thing with Manual J and everything else that 2.0 kind of encompasses. That there's certain things that just don't make sense to me, and seeing the data that you can go through to size the system and house leakage and how to fix things and blah blah blah. It's just like it's starting to like form a you know, HVAC is like a huge picture. It's a beautiful picture, but I feel like it's kind of like one of those paint by number things. And it's kind of like coloring in more and more of the picture. And it's kind of, you know,
Wow, that's a beautiful analogy. And um, what is interesting to me about what you said was, can you give me an example of like some of these rules of thumbs that HVAC folks use that didn't really quite ring true to you, or you were like, maybe there's something there that I need to think deeply about?
well, like early on, you know, sizing equipment where they would tell you like a certain amount of square footage, you know, BTUs per square footage or ton, you know, square footage per ton, whatever like that. I'm like, you know, because there's a 100-year-old house with no insulation, old windows, and then you have a 10-year-old house that's insulated fairly well. How could that possibly make any sense?
Mm,
And then another thing was charging air conditioners, you know, charging condensers. And you would have like, that was a big thing where they would kind of say either just get your gauge to about this point, you know, PSI, or you look at your saturation temperature over your outdoor ambient.
mhm.
And I'm like, why do you have both? Why is there two gauges? And what are all these other numbers for? It doesn't make any sense, you know?
And so, have you asked them that? Did you ask them that when you were like learning with them?
I didn't because
Yeah.
by the time I started figuring things out, they were already gone and I was already kind of on my own. Well, not as a company. I was on my own working for my dad still.
Mhm.
And then YouTube just like I think YouTube helped me so much. I went through so many different classes and this and that, but like when they show you something, but I think you really need to be careful with YouTube because there's a lot of bad information
Mm,
because anyone could post a video, right?
right.
But if you have good common sense, you can kind of look at something and see if it makes sense to you or not, I guess, you know.
Gotcha. So with the data that HVAC 2.0 comes with, how has that changed what you do with how you run your business now?
Well, so far it had, I mean, I am getting a lot more like skeptical on sizing,
Mm,
and that's number one.
mm,
Number two, I am trying to figure out HVAC 2.0. Once I get it completely figured out, I want to start implementing it on a daily basis with all estimates and this and that. The one thing I think I'm going to struggle with though is getting my dad on board, but you know, Nate and Ted and a couple other guys had an idea that I should do a consult at my dad's house and
mm.
try to go through the whole process. Maybe I'll even go in his attic and air seal the top of the walls and all that, and
Gotcha.
try to tighten him up so then he's a believer in it, and we could start offering it. You know,
What's the biggest challenge with your dad, do you think?
he's just old school, and he doesn't. It's like I feel like everything I do to change something, um, he doesn't fight it. He just doesn't like it. You know, like switching over from paper invoices to an online, you know, cloud-based type deal. That was like a big deal. And
Mm,
then sending over handwritten estimates. He loved sitting there typing estimates out, and it would take him 45 minutes to type out an estimate. And then I moved to an estimating program where it's just like drag and drop stuff and you're done.
yeah, yeah.
So every little thing is like, well, he's used to this way, even though it's not quite efficient, or they've come up with new ways that are more efficient of doing things, you know?
Gotcha. Yeah, my dad's a doctor, and he makes the worst patient because
Yeah.
he can't stop questioning the doctor back. Like I've been to visits with him, and sometimes he's like, "Oh, why did you not try this?" And it's difficult for him to get into the mindset of I'm the patient now, and I got to listen to the other person, right? And I wonder if when you show up at your dad's place to do a comfort consult, I are you thinking about taping it?
I don't know. I think like for whatever reason, I'm really self-conscious about like the whole filming and YouTube thing and that in front of my dad. I don't know why it is, but I am. So I don't think I think if anything, like, because I'm starting to document my house, and I think I'd prefer taping it with him not there and
Yeah.
then showing him the end results of it. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah. So that might be an easy way to break him into rather than walking through each and every step.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So what? So staying with your dad for a moment, that attitude, right? Of you formed habits over your lifetime of doing things a certain way, and then when a younger person, it doesn't have to be a younger person, someone comes up with a new way of doing it, there is some reluctance to change the way you've been doing things. Like your dad's example, do you see that generally being true for a lot of contractors out there?
I definitely see that. I mean, I'm friends with a lot of different people that either own a company or that, work for different companies
Yeah.
all across the country. And it's the same deal. You know what I mean? Somebody can come up with somebody posted just recently, I think on Facebook the other day about this employee. I don't remember who it was, but they went to Brian Orr's symposium and they learned all about Measure Quick. And they came back to the company. They're like, we should be using Measure Quick. And they're like, I don't know about that. And then he went out and he bought all the tools and he showed them how how everything works. And they're like, well, maybe this is a good idea. So I think like everyone's just kind of hesitant on. I mean, there's a big debate right now just over like digital manifolds and probes, and there's a kickback on that because people think it's new technology, and you don't need it. It's not accurate, even though it's really not that new. I had a digital manifold like over 10 years ago.
Right. Right. So you have your ear to the ground on contractors in ways that, because you have your show, right? Can you talk a little bit about your show? What do you do on the show?
The show kind of started off as just not. It wasn't a show in the beginning. Like it was just a bunch of guys that we. Actually, it was John Israel. So John Israel is an HVAC YouTuber, and he would go on and just like BS with some people. And one night he was taught. They were talking about a train furnace, and they were talking about the setting on a train furnace. And I was in the chat, and I never chatted before or anything. And I said, "What you're saying is incorrect." No, that's not true. Well, if you think so, come in here and talk about it. So I went in there, and then he's like, "You're pretty smart. You should come back." So at that point, we just started doing hangouts, and it was just kind of hangouts, this and that. Then me, Joe, a couple other guys, we went over to Zach Ciota with Shop Talk, and we started doing a show with them. And then it was an actual show. Like we're doing this every week, and it wasn't just like hanging out. But the overtime show, now we're on our own. We have a good group of guys. Chris from HVACR videos. We have Joe and Curious HVAC guy Bill. Everyone has their own kind of like twist to the show and what they do specialize in HVAC, but it's still kind of the same premise. Because in the beginning, I think we started off the whole mindset of we're going to try to make this a show, and we were kind of copying Shop Talk in a way. And it was weird and it felt fake. So now it's kind of like we're hanging out and we're talking and we just like shoot the crap with each other and we bust each other's chops. And then we have interesting guests that come on, like Bill Spone, like, and, like we've had so many different people on, like Nate Adams, like John Pastorello, and then it's just cool to get to meet these people because these are some of the best and brightest minds in HVAC.
Yeah, and they've written books that you may have read at some point during the training and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And who is the show aimed at? Is it young HVAC folks just getting into the industry, or?
I think it's everyone. Like the difference between like our Chris has a Monday night show where it's kind of like a Q&A where people ask him technical questions and that. So we will get into beginning items and technical things if somebody asks us that. But then it's just kind of like, hey, hang out and have a beer. There's guys that have been doing it for 30 years that are in there. People talk to me all the time. I'm become friends with a guy in Wisconsin. I'm friends with a guy on the East Coast that's a pipe fitter. So, and he's almost 60 years old now. So, I mean, it's kind of geared towards everyone. It's just nice to a lot of the people I don't think realize, you know, in HVAC, there's like a small knit online, or like a tight knit online community. And then probably 98% of HVAC people are not aware of the super specialized, awesome tools that are available and the brilliant minds that are on platforms like YouTube and Facebook all the time posting, you know, their knowledge for people to soak it up
For
and learn.
free. Yeah. Yeah, that's unique as far as I have seen. I think my observation has been similar to yours. Just looking at it from the outside, so to speak, there's so many people who are giving away so much information for free that it just seems like you're drinking off of for this this fire hose of information, right? And oftentimes in other areas, you'll have to go to college, go get trained, go to graduate school maybe, and get credentialed and certified to pick up on some of these knowledge from books. Whereas in HVAC world, it seems like people are out there trying new things, like your show, trying new things, like putting stuff out there on Facebook, just for people to pick up. What about HVAC do you think lends itself to this kind of a distribution of knowledge kind of thing?
Um, I don't know. It's weird because I think like the majority of HVAC, it doesn't really have that. Like you don't really, you know, different companies and guys that are training other guys. It's almost like you see posts online. There's some toxic groups on Facebook where somebody will ask a question and they'll just belittle the person, like you're an idiot, blah blah blah. You know. So I think in general that's not the case, but there is. I think there's a group of people that really want to make the trade better. And they think the only way of doing so is by sharing their knowledge. And that's great. You know, I actually inspire. I had a YouTube channel. I pulled all my videos down because it was just kind of, it felt also kind of like copying other people. You know, I felt like I was copying Steve Reardon and John Israel and all these other guys running service calls and doing this and that. So I have an idea, which I don't know how I'm going to execute it. And it would be cool somehow to do it with the guys with 2.0. And I don't know if it would be some kind of, I don't know how to incorporate it, but basically get the best of the best at one area of HVAC, like duct design, like load calculations, like you name it, refrigeration, whatever, and then have like a small multi-part series, like maybe 20-minute videos.
Oh yeah.
And just have a couple, maybe 2 or 3 guys in there and say, well, this was the rule of thumb. Why is this? And just kind of like, you know what I mean? Make it so have a directional path where you could learn on a specific part of the trade, you know?
Oh, fantastic. I love that so much. What do we need to do to make that happen?
I don't know. Get organized, and I need to make more contacts and
Yep.
get, you know, because I don't want to claim that I know everything because I'm nowhere near knowing everything. I know I know when there's somebody that's much better than me, and I want to find somebody, you know, duct design. I want the best of the best at duct design. Somebody that could have a great conversation with, get a couple people in there, and let's do this. You know what I mean? And we'll do it on every aspect of it.
Sounds good to me. I'd be happy to help. I think HVAC 2.0 would be happy to help, whatever way to make this possible. We were just internally talking about trying to get more videos out there for young contractors are looking. The moment, to me, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the moment a contractor thinks, man, why is this the way it is? That's when that's I would argue that's when they have started on the path of HVAC 2.0.
Yeah.
And they need to find people like you. They need to find people like Nate. They need to find people like other folks out there who are putting these videos out so that they can learn and go on the A path and not get sucked into the toxic communities that can be and all the bullshit, YouTube videos that end up being out there, right? That is not encouraging their curiosity, helping them dig deeper, helping them become more curious and more inquisitive. That's the path we want them to be on. So anything that helps people get along that pathway, like I'd be happy to help you.
That would be awesome.
Cool. So when you said HVAC 2.0 data, fantastic. What else about HVAC 2.0 really appealed to you? looking at it from the outside and just
I really like which this kind of sounds, if a homeowner is listening to this, they'd probably be like, whoa, that's not a cool thing to say. But the responsibly remove responsibility, or which you're not trying to put something over on a homeowner or whatever. You're basically like, I want to get paid for my professional work and whatever. If I'm going to do a duct design, I want to get paid for the duct design. If you don't want to pay for a duct design, that's fine. You know what I mean? I'll do whatever duct work you want me to put in. If you don't want to pay for a load calculation, you have an 80,000 BTU furnace, I'll put another 80,000 BTU furnace in. You're opting, you don't want to pay for my professional service. So I'll take that off the table and I'll just do whatever you want me to do. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And that's because it makes it easier to compete with guys that are not offering a premium service. So you're not going to price yourself out of the ballpark on jobs that people don't want to pay for that. You offer it to them and they decline it, you're covered. You're fine. You know what I mean?
Yep. And so you're sharing the responsibility for this with the homeowner and having them have some skin in the game.
Yes.
So that you're not the one who's left holding the bag if they are unhappy with the result.
Right. Exactly.
So you go in there as an expert and it's on them to engage you as an expert.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't want that, they just want, Tanner, who is an HVAC 2.0 contractor, he made the distinction between there's contractors out there that want to be home performance experts, and there's contractors out there that want to fix boxes. And you can be either. And you need two kinds of people because homeowners also want these two different kinds. And if you show up saying, I am a home performance expert, a home comfort expert, and all they want you to do is turn a wrench, then I guess you'll turn a wrench, right?
Yeah.
And so being able to do that is the freedom that HVAC 2.0 gives. Is that what you were talking about?
Exactly. You're just, you give them basically a menu.
Yeah.
You give them options and they pick their own path and that's it. You don't have to, you're not selling. It's not like, hey, I need to sell this $15,000 system. I'll sell you a $3,000 system. Whatever you want to buy, whatever you want to spend, it's fine with me,
And so what do you wish homeowners knew more when they hire contractors like you, like experienced, elite level service contractors like you?
It would be nice for them to understand that, because I think a lot of the number one thing that bothers me is homeowners like shop furnaces and HVAC systems like they're shopping for refrigerators. You know what I mean? And they think, hey, well, there's a Maytag at Home Depot, but I can get my Maytag at Lowe's for $100 cheaper. I'm going to go to Lowe's. Well, guess what? We're just not stocking these boxes and pushing them to the front of the store for you. There's way more that goes involved, that is involved with installing them than even the equipment itself. So when people are, they say Goodman's garbage or Carrier sucks or this or that, dude, there's a reason why they suck. You know what I mean? It's because there's boneheads installing them and screwing them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So HVAC is not like replacing your fridge or light bulb. Every HVAC install is a custom install, more or less. Is that right?
Yep.
And so it's not just plug and play, but you need some expertise at the contractor level to get what you want out of HVAC. Yep. And so what you're saying is what you want homeowners to know is to appreciate the installation and the service part of it more, rather than just relying on systems and right. Buying a cheapest system.
And even if you had like two different companies, and the one guy is working out of his garage, and he's super awesome at what he does. He does a great job. He's very experienced. And then you have somebody that has more of an established company. He might charge a little bit more money. He has more employees. Are you going to get a better job one way or another? Probably not. But when it comes like long-term service-wise, I've had many customers call me. We had a furnace installed And the guy's out of town. Went on vacation for 2 weeks, so and it broke down. We can't get him to fix it. And it's like, well, you saved $300. Congratulations. You know what I mean? Now you
Right.
have to pay to have somebody else fix it.
Right.
So
So the problem to me seems like homeowners don't know or don't have a good way of evaluating the merits or the craftsmanship or the quality of finished product of contractors before they hire someone, right? Because oftentimes you have to get an HVAC contractor in your home, hopefully once every 15, 20 years when it breaks. And because they don't know in advance how to evaluate a good contractor from a bad contractor, they just end up defaulting to the cheapest quote.
yeah.
And to me, it seems like a lot of bad contractors know this. So they don't waste a lot of time in trying to like optimize for design, or spec the home, do a blower door test, actually design for the home. They just want to get the cheapest quote. So they'll just go and replace the system like for like, whether or not it was actually doing the job for the house. They'll just replace it like for like. And whereas people like you who take home comfort more seriously and want to design more systems to meet the spec, I feel like are undercut by these guys who just want to go in and do a quick install job and get out. Because whatever problems show up, they're not going to show up. And homeowners don't know how to evaluate the quality of that. The problems will only show up a couple of months down the road.
Yeah.
So how do we break this cycle? Or how does HVAC 2.0 play into
I
it?
think the whole thing, I think, well, I mean, I'm going to get a little political here, which I
Yes, sir.
know this is something that we try to steer clear of in overtime. We don't talk about religion. We don't talk about politics. It's just because we don't want to offend anyone, right?
Yeah.
But I think like the whole idea of education and free education across the board is amazing because not even just talking about HVAC, the country in general, if you could give free education, it would benefit everyone, everyone. And now you bring it into HVAC. If you could educate homeowners on why this is important, why energy efficiency, not just saying like screw energy efficiency. Let's not talk about saving money, but efficiency, like an efficient home. Why is that important? Why is it going to be important to you? And then you educate why is it important that these contractors are good at what they do and they're knowledgeable. And then you educate all the contractors and listen, you think you're good, but you're really not. You know what I mean? And because I think a lot of people want to be good, they just don't know how to be good. You know what I mean? So I think education is like huge on every aspect.
Yeah. And so for a homeowner, most homeowners have never lived in a high performance house, have no idea how that's different from their old home, right? Like people don't know what it's like. Even when people buy a new home, like I live in Canada, house prices here are just through the roof. People spend the city I live in, the average house price is like $700,000, right? It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And people do not get to experience home comfort when they're even touring a house and they buy it. It'll take a year before any problems show up, right? When you live in a house. So when homeowners, so when we talk about like home performance, it's not just energy efficiency and saving money, although that's important. But to truly live in a comfortable house, I don't think a lot of people know that. Would you agree?
I completely agree. And like one of the biggest reasons why like hydronics guys push radiant is because it's so comfortable and it's even and it's kind of like just being in front of the sun. You just feel if you have a garage that has radiant heat in your garage and you're in the middle of winter and you open the overhead door, cold air is coming in,
Yeah.
but you don't necessarily feel cold because you have this big slab of concrete radiating temperature, warmth to you. And that's one of the things I never knew what it was called, but what is it, mean or median radiant temperature, MRT?
Yeah, median.
And I never knew you could actually experience that without radiant.
Right.
You know?
Right. So Adam, I want to. So where does A Team Adam go from here? a year from now, I want to do this again a year from now, and to see, where you are today and where you want to be a year from now, and see what that looks like a year from now.
I mean, I'm starting to dive into my house.
Yeah.
That's number one. I want to start like looking at what moves the needle for people. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, my house is, I have a just under 1,900 square foot house. My blower door was 2,800. Okay. CFM 50
How old is the house?
from the 60s.
Okay.
So I have a fireplace, I have different things, and but I want to start doing one item at a time and seeing what's moving, so I could like just have experience, which I know experience will come with talking to a bunch of you guys.
Mhm.
What changes things, but I want to be knowledgeable on it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I'm not going to start the process with anyone else. I'm just saying I'm going to seriously experiment. And so Saturday night or Saturday I got home, my wife's like, "Do you want to watch TV?" I sat down on the couch for a few minutes. I'm like, I can't do this. So I set up the blower door and I hooked it back up to my front door. Going around again with the thermal imager. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like pinpointing more and more stuff,
Man, you're a mad scientist, HVAC guy. I'll tell you that. No, seriously, right? That's very few people are curious. It's not. This is not just about HVAC contractors. Very few people will step away from the comfort of a couch on a Saturday night and go tinker in their lab, which is
Yeah.
basically what you're doing, right?
I love knowledge, and that's like, I don't really, honestly, I probably don't even care about fixing my house. My wife would care more if I went through the whole console thing with her, because it smells musty. I hate the bathroom, this and that, the way, and for me, I'm a guy, I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and it just, we didn't have the luxuries of everything. And I'm kind of like a rough around the edges, whatever, but like, I want to be able to fix it. Like, I just want to have the knowledge to fix things. Like, do I care about, I want to make my wife happy.
Yes.
I'd live in a box if it was like, I'm not going to die of hypothermia,
Same here. Yeah, but that box would be the best, efficient box that. So is that what gets you out of bed in the morning? Is expanding your knowledge, learning more?
I love, yeah, definitely. Like, if there's a day where I could learn something, I love it. One thing that I love the learning why too. I don't like learning rules. I like learning why the rules are there. And the reason being, this sounds stupid, but some rules you can break. You need to know why the rules are there, so I can break it because of this, and I'm going to still accomplish my end result while still breaking this. I just want to know how everything's put together and how everything works. So, because I think you could do a better, well-rounded job at something than necessarily always, walking in a straight path, following every single rule.
Gotcha. And how many folks do you have working for you right now?
I am shorthanded right now. Right now. I have my cousin works in the office, and I have my dad, and I have another helper. So I could definitely use another 2 guys.
Gotcha. And I was just going to ask, are people catching what you're pitching on this stuff? People you train and things like that.
So I didn't really need my helper to come with. I did a consult for a friend of mine on Saturday, and he didn't really need to come, but I'm like, "Are you interested in this at all?" He's like, "Oh, definitely, definitely." So he came with, and he's usually very quiet on the ride back. But as soon as we left there, he's like, "This is really good. People are gonna like this." He's like,
Nice.
"You're figuring out why the house is not good." He's like, "And you're testing it. This is so good."
Yeah,
and I'm like,
That's
the point behind it,
That's like being Indiana Jones, right? Part Indiana Jones and part like mad scientist trying to figure out new things. Do you think there'll ever be a HVAC TV show like Property Brothers or a Reno Your Home, all these TV shows? Like, why is HVAC not a TV show? Like, why don't we have that kind of cultural appeal that home renos do?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Are you familiar with Ted Cook, anti-DIY HVAC?
Yeah.
So he hired like a professional crew to do a couple episodes. It was kind of half scripted, not, and then it was cool. Why is it not happening? I don't know. I would love to be involved with it. I'll tell you that. If they said, "Hey, we want to do a show and we'd invite you on," I'd be like, "Hell yeah, sign me up tomorrow." I don't even care if I do it for free. I just want to be on it, you know?
Right on.
So,
So Adam, how can HVAC 2.0 support you on your journey, man?
well, I'm starting to get older and it's harder for me to crawl around in crawl spaces for 2 days straight and lug heavy furnaces and condensers day in, day out. And the way I see 2.0 is you could slow down a little bit. You could get
Mhm.
paid for the things you don't usually get paid for.
Yeah.
You could potentially maybe stretch out a job into a couple days instead of hey, we need to slam dunk this in a day. So instead of doing, 3 furnaces and 3 condensers over 3 days, maybe you're doing one and you don't have to lift heavy stuff for 2 days. You're just kind of like QCing and maybe air sealing and overseeing a project or whatever. Or maybe you're doing a little bit of duct work. I don't know, but
Mhm.
you can get paid. You could charge for your knowledge. You get higher dollar tickets per job, and you don't have to necessarily sell a box to every person to go home with a paycheck, you know?
Gotcha. So you're not in there trying to make a quick sale so you can go to the next person, next sale, lugging furnaces in and out. You could take your time with it, have people trust and value your expertise, and solve problems for people. And there's a lot of, I mean, you get paid for that. But does that feel more fulfilling in some way?
It does. And you want referrals. That's the way to get referrals where somebody's like, my third floor has sucked and we never were able to use our third floor. And after this guy came out, he, spent X amount of time and now it's fine. It's just as comfortable as the first floor. We could live in our third floor. And when you're able to solve problems like that, and I guess that's another big thing with heating and air companies. In my experience, there's a lot of companies out there that actually create new problems for people. They're not solving problems; they're creating more problems.
So is that a cynical way of just getting more service calls, or is it just a consequence of not doing a good job?
I think it's a constant. Well, I don't see. Yeah, they're not doing a good job, but I don't think it's like purposely not doing a good job. Maybe some people are just like, let's hurry up and get this done. But I think it's like a consequence of not really having knowledge on how to fix things and the reason why. Like, you need to know why is this room drafty? Why do you want to run a bigger duct to this room? Do you need a bigger duct to this room? Like, let's just keep upsizing this furnace. Does that make sense? Maybe you should fix the house.
Right. Right. And so you being the data guy, do you keep track of your own like sort of closing rates or like sales to service ratios and all these things?
I have a program
Yeah.
that kind of does it for me. So, which I just started the program. So right now we're kind of slow right now. It's the spring. I've been using it for maybe a month and a half, and
Yeah.
so I'm at like a 50% closing rate on regular estimates right now.
That
So
seems about par for the industry, right? Better than par for the industry, 50%, 52%. A lot of guys would be happy with that.
yeah.
Are you?
Yeah, I mean, I could I'd be happier with 60%, but
Gotcha. And what's your average ticket price like right now?
right now in the last 30 days, I just looked at it this morning on a report. It was like 6,800 for not for a service call, but for replacements. My
Yeah,
average for the last 30 days,
right
6,800.
on. And do you have any, where do you see yourself? Where do you think you'll be a year from now?
Um, hmm. my I'd love to implement this and ask the questions, the 4 questions going into every estimate, and lead somebody, give them their path A, path B, just let them make their own decision.
Mhm.
And hopefully, if I get a handful of 2.0 jobs, that would be awesome. You know, Taking 2.0 out of it, I would love to be able to have another 1 or 2 employees and, take a little stress off my plate.
Gotcha. Awesome, man. And I'm sorry. Actually, thanks a lot for spending time with me today. I'll be honest with you. When I got into this call, I was a little self-conscious because you have a show for yourself, and I'm just like doing this running this off the side of my desk. So it's
Oh,
like
dude,
getting,
I don't know what I'm doing.
it's like getting Joe
I'm a better
Rogan.
idiot. Huh?
It's like trying to get Joe Rogan on your podcast, right? You're just getting started. It's like,
Yeah, I guess. I wish I was Joe Rogan. That would be sweet. I wouldn't have to worry about addicts ever again.
but I just have just a few more questions, and a lot of these will be kind of internal. I know you've kind of just officially been on HVAC 2.0 for just a little while now, but um, is what are we doing really well that you think we should continue doing?
The Monday night meetings
Yeah.
where it's like the debriefings and what did you guys go through and experience this week? That's awesome. I think that's the biggest thing where if you support new guys coming in, you give them a place to bounce thing, give them a group of guys to bounce thing off of. And then not just that too, like having a place to go, you feel some kind of camaraderie with people, you know
And a
what I
sense of
mean?
belonging, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome.
Okay. Anything else spring to mind?
Um, I mean, what else are you doing well? All the what do you call it? Trying to think of the word. I don't know. All the test cases, all the data from all
Case studies and stuff.
the
Yeah.
case studies. Yeah,
Right. Gotcha.
that's amazing. When you could actually show people.
Yeah.
I watched a video where Nate had a house that he did, and he had the homeowner on,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they were like talking about it. I'm like, that's awesome. Like you're not listening to Nate talk about a house that he supposedly fixed.
Right.
You got this guy that Nate fixed his house, and they're talking about it right there. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
sweet.
And what are we doing that you feel like we could be doing better to support what you're doing?
I'm still a little bit intimidated by the questions in the 2.0 process, like going
The
through with
four
the
questions.
no, not though. That's fairly easy, but like when you're doing a consult and going through the whole form,
Mhm.
I I mean, I guess people really need to have pain about their, they need to experience the pain in their house, want you there to fix it.
Mhm.
But from my past experiences, like people just don't really want you in their house. You know what I mean? And like to be like, yeah, I'm gonna be there for the next 2 or 3. Set aside 2 or 3 hours. We're gonna hang out. Get cozy. It's gonna be fun.
Most people want to point you to the basement, right, where the HVAC unit is, and then
Yeah,
go upstairs and make a milkshake or something.
exactly.
Okay.
But they need to be a part of the process. I see that now. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because they want you to say, you have a couple dampers that I need to tweak and you're good to go now. Don't worry about it. But like there's a bigger problem than their ductwork, right? So they need to be a part of the knowledge and yeah, the whole picture.
So how do we get homeowners there? Is there something that we as HVAC 2.0 can do that like individual contractors can't do?
I don't know. I mean, I think Nate in his book, that book is amazing. And I read the whole thing in 2 sittings, one night, then I went to sleep. The next night I got home, ate dinner, and read it again, or the rest of it. And I think, Nate does a good job of, sharing everything. He does a great job with, electrify everything. And you guys all, everyone has their, I see curious homeowners online asking questions.
Mhm.
And then right away, someone's there. If it's not Nate, it's Tanner. If it's not Tanner, it's Michael. Whoever it is, somebody's like, what's your blower door number? And everyone has like a stupid, what? Did you test it? Because that was the first thing they said to me when I was saying, hey guys, I want to pull off my siding and do close off foam in my house and put zip R panels in that. And they're like, well, what's your CFM 50? I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, guys.
Right. Gotcha. So I think the homeowner education in general, I know that Nate's book does a lot of heavy lifting, but if there's, I don't, I mean, this is something, ideas that I had today, I was talking to Nate about, but if there was like almost like a journey that you can put a homeowner through, even between when they talk to you and between when they talk to a contractor and the contractor shows up, where, okay, you read the 101 chapters and this and that, but also watch a couple of other videos from homeowners or something like that, just something to orient them so that they are committed to spending a couple of hours with the contractor, I think is something that we could do. I don't know if that's.
It would be cool to somehow figure out how to make videos with other past homeowners. You know what I mean? Like case study videos.
Yep.
But instead of them being like really long videos, because that video I watched, I think it was like, it had to have been an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
It was a long video. You know, like a lot of people will just get like, the reason why I was with it is because it's fascinating to me. Most people would be like, I don't care, dude. I want to sleep in my bedroom at night. Like, that's why I'm calling you. So right. It would be cool to somehow come up with videos that are short and sweet, where you just get it's like the cliff notes of the job. You know what I mean?
Okay. Do you want to produce a show with me talking to contractors and their homeowners on HVAC 2.0?
I'd love to. That'd be awesome. Yeah, for sure. Awesome. That'd be sweet.
Fantastic, man. Thanks a lot, Adam. You've given me a lot of your time today on a Wednesday night before Easter, and I really appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise. And I'll send you the link to the video later. We'll see. Like you said, no one wants to sit and watch like two guys talking for 50 minutes and stuff like that. But internally, I'm going to chop this up and use bits of this in a blog somewhere. There's a lot of lessons that comes out of these conversations for homeowners. I come from a policy world, and like there's a lot of people in my sphere who are trying to figure out how can we best support contractors. And a lot of times they think, oh, we'll just give money for training, or we'll give incentives to homeowners, and I think those might be useful. But there's also things like you were saying, educating homeowners on the comfort process, and educating homeowners on. So those are pieces that I don't think a lot of people realize. So I'm going to pick pieces from what I learned a lot from you today, man. I really appreciate that a lot.
It's awesome there.
Because not always do you get a chance to learn, like really learn from someone who's on top of their game, and so I value that a lot, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good night, sir.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.